Compost is a lifeline of any spectacular garden. You can buy it in a bag or you can have it trucked in. But with a few simple ingredients, you can build your own. Basic backyard hot composting, step by step, start to finish. That video starts right now. Today I want to show you how to build a hot compost pile. Relatively small compost pile. You can see back here a 3 by 3 by 3, and I'm going to use two ingredients. I'm going to use dried leaves and grass clippings, and this arrangement should complete in about 3 to 4 weeks. So stick around and I'll show you how I do it. So I just want to point out before we get started, make sure that you have everything you need to build this pile before you get started. Otherwise, you're going to have an incomplete pile that's not going to come up to temperature. And you will always use more than what you think. So without further ado here, let's get started. All right, so we're ready to go here. I've got my greens located here, a couple little piles. I have more if we need it. And I've got my leaves here, and I've also got my water source. So the first thing I do is always wet down the bottom of the pile. Okay, once I get that wetted down, I want to start with the leaves. I go with the leaves first. Now these are not, they're not shredded or anything. I don't really care about that. They compost just fine. And then I want to wet that down. These are dry leaves. It's gonna take some water. All right, I'm going to show you how to do one layer here. Now I want to speed things up, and when I get about a third of the way up, I'm going to stop, and I'm going to show you how I mineralize this thing. So we got our leaves in. I want to grab some greens. Now the trick to the greens is not to let them clump up on you. You know, this is one of those deals where you set yourself up in the beginning for a good finish. All right, now here goes a layer. I want to go with about 2 inches. Now I do my layers thin. Those leaves are going to require a lot of water, so that's why I go thin. If you put thick layers in of the leaves, you're going to dry out. I don't have that problem. A little bit of water on the greens. Okay, I want to speed this up. So what I have here is some wood ash. So I'll come up about a third of the pile, and I'm not going to put a whole lot of this in here. Stuff's really alkaline. Maybe a handful, and I'm just going to sprinkle it in. Maybe just a little bit more. So I took about 9 trash bags to fill this up, and I used all my greens. If this would have been this much taller, I wouldn't have had enough. So if you're going to compost, you really do need a good composting thermometer. They vary in quality quite a bit. You need to get one that's waterproof. And also that probe needs to be 1/2 the diameter of your pile. This is a 36-inch wide pile here. I need 18-inch probe, and I think this is either 16 or 18. It's good enough. Another thing I found is that upper 2/3, I'm going to probe this into the hottest part of this pile. So we're about 138 degrees, and that's pretty darn good for 24 hours, and I suspect by this time tomorrow we'll be into that 150 degree range. So we'll check back again tomorrow. Yeah, this pile will need to be flipped at this point. So we started out over there and now we're over here. We had to flip the pile. We got too hot, 160 degrees. I was telling me I just overshot the nitrogen. So I usually do this during the summer. I'm sure that early spring grass clippings, you know, that nitrogen level is probably a little higher. That's okay, duly noted. We got it. So this is where we're at. We're back to 152 degrees. So we'll monitor the pile, and as soon as something changes, I'll give you an update. All right, here, so we're on about 149 degrees here, looks like. On the top. Well, that's what it looks like. I'll go on and get this flipped and then we'll come back. So we got the pile flipped back. It's kind of back where we started. I want to talk a little bit about the shape or method I'm using here to compost. I'm using these cylinder shapes here. I find them to be a little more efficient. You don't have to have any of this. You can put a pile out on the ground, cover it with a tarp. It'll work just fine. But I find this to be a little more efficient. You know, if you want your pile to get done a little quicker, going vertical will provide a little better even heat distribution. So that's our update for today. As soon as something changes, I'll give you another update. So we made it about 4 full days since our last check-in. The pile's at about 137, fell back about 3 degrees from last night. We've been cruising along at 140 here for the past 4 days. That's pretty remarkable for a smaller pile. So what we're going to do today, we're going to flip it. We're going to take a real close look at what's going on inside. Now the trick to this, I want to get this flipped as soon as possible because I'm losing heat here. But I also want to get it mixed up. But this next ramp, that's going to be the important one. We need another good hot temperature. All right, so we flipped the pile back over here. We're over here now. That's flip number 3 in 11 days. Like I said earlier, we just spent 4 days at 140 degrees, and that's pretty darn good. I expected to see the pile broken down a little bit more, but I don't know how you do any better at these temperatures. I mean, that's about the best you can do. So anyway, that's what I know about it. We've done pretty good so far. So anyway, that's it for today's update. As soon as something changes, I'll be back. So the pile's telling us it needs to be flipped. So we're about 16 days into that thermophilic range. Pile's on about 130. Pulled back about 5 degrees last night. Pretty phenomenal, really. Still got the steam coming out of it. Wow. I could have shredded those leaves and made this a little bit easier, that's for sure. All right, I'll go on and get this finished up, and then I'll bring you back. So we got the pile flipped back over here. So it's ready to go again. 16 days in that thermophilic range. We did drop to about 130. But we had a good 5-day run. It did ramp back up, and I think it's going to ramp back up again. Real impressed with how we've been able to ramp those temperatures up and hold those temperatures. What I'm not impressed with is the level of decomposition. I used poplar leaves this time. I don't know if that's a factor or not. Could be. Maybe it takes poplar leaves a little longer to break down. I don't know. Anyway, we're still doing good up to this point. What I want to talk about just a little bit is when should you flip your pile and how often should you flip your pile? And that gets a little controversial. So we were at 130 degrees, and now we're at about 98 degrees Fahrenheit. So it's going to take this pile another 24 hours to get back in that thermophilic range, and then probably another 12 hours to hit peak temperature. So I'm taking a day and a half out of my composting schedule here just because I had to aerate the pile. So, and this has held true through this entire build. Even when we started out at the 160, it took us a day and a half to get back in. So that's where I kind of struggle with flipping a pile every couple of days. Now maybe it's just because of the mix I'm using. I don't know. I see a lot of videos where they're flipping every 2 days. The only similarity that I find is they're always using a manure. So if you're using a high nitrogen mix that's higher density, maybe it requires it, but you still have to hit that that nitrogen carbon ratio. You still have to hit that. So it just kind of gets kind of confusing to me. If I were to flip this pile every day or every other day, I would have been out of that thermophilic range half of the time. So if you believe that the thermophilic range is where you do your best composting, which you should, you need to leave your pile in that range as long as you can. Now, that kind of covers the frequency. So when it starts to drop, the temperature starts to drop, the microbes are starting to die back, the pile's compressing, it's running out of oxygen, it's time to flip your pile and aerate it. So I don't know if I'm missing something here. Please straighten me out in the comments below, because at this point here right now, I'm not on board with flipping a pile every day or two. I just don't see how it's the best way to achieve a faster result. All right, so we're 23 days into this, and we're still composting. Kind of hard to believe, but that's where we're at. So the pile's on about 115 degrees, and we're 7 full days since we last checked in. All right, here's what the material looks like. Just got it flipped over. Got a long way to go. It's pretty unbelievable. Pretty unbelievable. We hit all those heat cycles and we're not broken down any more than this. That's okay. We're 23 days into it, and that was flip number 6, I believe. So I flipped it over into this plastic here. I'm trying to lock that moisture in because I know this pile is going to be sitting here for a while. And I can always aerate it right where it's at, kind of stir it up a little bit. It's about out of carbon. So we're about 9 days since our last check-in. I want to cover a few things that I haven't covered earlier in the video. One is the use of chlorinated water, 4 or 5 parts per million. Don't let that slow you down. I use chlorinated water here. If chlorinated water actually hurt the process, we would have saw it here. 48 hours, I was at 160 degrees. I don't condone the use of it. I don't recommend the use of it, but if it's all you got, don't let it slow you down. And I do understand how to remove chlorine from chlorinated water. You can use humic acid. You can let the water sit. Better yet, you could use water out of a clean stream or a pond or whatever. I use it out of my water hose, okay? They're just, I wouldn't spend 2 minutes trying to remove chlorine out of the city water here. So I just don't, you know, you can if you want to. If it makes you feel better, go ahead. The second item is the use of an inoculant. I had a nice finished fungal dominated pile sitting here when we started, and I didn't use an ounce of it. If you're using grass clippings, you've got a gazillion microbes out there, and you're dragging them right into your pile. So I don't waste my time with that. If you're using some other mix, maybe that's inert in nature that you feel like needs a boost, by all means, go ahead and do it. A couple other items here, how we can improve on what we've done here so far. You could use a bigger pile. I use smaller piles. They're easier to flip. You know, a 4x4 pile will hold heat a little bit better, and you get more compost. This is all I want to deal with, okay? A 3x3, and it works just fine. Another area is mulching your leaves, and you can do that and it'll get done a lot quicker, and I've done that. The last one of these I did last summer completed in 24 days. Okay, we're 31 days into this one. You know, an extra week for the trouble, I just don't bother. But if that's important to you, go on and mulch your leaves. I've done it in the past. I just take some of the work out of it, and I really don't care. And actually, you know, the whole leaves are a good indication on how well everything's broken down. So that's just me. That's just how I do it. But I do understand I could get it done faster. That's up to you. Trying to think of anything else because I need to cover it. So our pile is at ambient temp. It's cold, what we call cold. It's about 80 degrees, still a slight bit active. It's just gradually dropped down. So I need to get it out of my way, and we'll do that. So here's what the material looks like. You know, this could be used to mulch with. I mean, it's done. It's not done breaking down, but it's done composting. It's done hot composting. It'll never stop breaking down totally. So one other thing that I forgot to mention, probably the most important thing out of the entire video, is the carbon-nitrogen ratio. I didn't go into great detail on that. I didn't think it was important for the purpose of this video. I use a 2-to-1 like everybody else. If you're new, if you clicked on this video to learn how to hot compost, use a 2-to-1 carbon to nitrogen ratio. The 30-to-1, That's just the rate that the microbes consume the pile. 2 to 1 will get you there. Do a couple piles at 2 to 1. 2 times as many leaves as grass clippings. It will get you there. And then adjust. Adjust from there. You get a couple piles down, you'll get a feel for it. Not hard. So anyway, that's about all I have to show. You know, we're done hot composting. Took 31 days. I think I said at the beginning of the video, 3 to 4 weeks. So, you know, I could have mulched those leaves up and cut a lot of time off of this. I just don't do that. So anyway, I think we checked all the boxes, hopefully, minus running over a couple days, I guess. So if you liked the video, like, share, and subscribe. If you made it this far in the video, thanks for watching. See you in the next video.